welcome to Intercut's Best of March, going through all of the best in movies, TV, shorts that people just can't cut away from. As always, I'm your host, Arturo Zurita, and joining me, he is returning more times than the Baba Yaga. It's Zachary Shevich. What's up, dude?
Not too much, man. Just like John Wick, you can't keep us down. You can't keep us
No
away.
stairs.
I'm thinking we're back
Uh,
on
yeah,
Weekend Must Watch
easily.
or whatever
Look,
it is.
I told this man, the Baba Yaga's in town at South by. We need to go. But he had not read the chapters, the verses of the good book of John Wick. I saw him logging everything this past week, finally dealing with the Wick verse.
hmm
Zach, do you regret not showing up to get one of those golden coins?
I mean, it would have been nice, man, but we saw Blackberry instead, and that movie's still not out. I don't know. I don't know. It was. I'm sure
I
it would
should
have
have
been a fun time,
I should have
but
teleported. I really wanted to be there, but was it a blast to watch all of the John Wick movies back to back to back to back?
yeah, yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's they're obviously incredible feats of action cinema, and although like I feel like there's varying levels of fun to be had in the different chapters of it, there's always going to be some choreography that blows your mind and really does deliver on the experience. And it's been I was reading through a lot of people's letterbox reviews of the past few, just in my logging of them, and it's interesting to see how much certain people really push up against like the lack of story or not liking the story
Really?
versus the people who are just like the, fully embracing the absurdity and the chaos and all the incredible feats of action filmmaking in it. So it really is, I guess in some ways, a test of like what you're going to the movies for.
Yeah.
But it's hard to think of a lot better of films that do that style of film better if that's the style of film you're looking for.
100% agree. We're going to be going through John Wick. We're going to be going through some streaming movies, some shorts, some TV, a bunch of different things that we have here on the weekend must watch. But first, Zach, I want to cover a little bit of movie stuff that we had in this past weekend. Did you hear
Mhm.
about the best April Fool's joke that happened on Saturday
I
dealing with
try to
movies?
I try to steer clear of all April Fool's jokes and like do as much of a media blackout as I can. So I think I missed this one.
I was almost involved in this one. Zach, there was
Uh oh.
screenings to Midsommar that were happening at Alamo
Oh
Draft Houses for the
no, not this
director's
one.
cut. And we're big fans of Midsommar over here in this household, and we were ready to go support the director's cut with a 10-minute preview of Beau is Afraid.
Mm.
Turns out they done duped the dupers. This thing ended up being an April Fool's prank by Joaquin Phoenix and Mr. Ari Aster himself. You showed up for one miserable experience of Midsommar and got hit with a brand new miserable experience with Beau is Afraid. It was an April Fool's joke provided by
Yeah.
A24 where they paid. If you've never been to an Alamo Draft House, and Zach and I were just at some for a whole weekend of festival activities, they give you food, drink, everything.
hmm
A24 was paying for everyone's bill. So if you were really offended, like some people who also didn't have tickets to go to the event, you didn't really have to worry about anything because the whole bill was going to be racked up by the company, and also this mysterious MW. I don't know if you've been able to see any of that stuff for Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really know what it means, but I'm just like jealous of the people who got to see it.
Yeah, uh, it's delivering for me. I regret not going. I wish I was April Fooled, but
Yeah,
A24,
right?
WB, Sony, please keep doing that. I would highly appreciate that. Play the old Super Mario Bros. Movie, show up and have the new one, whatever it is. I'd be excited
Right?
to catch that. I
More
thought that was a pretty dope
studios
way to roll it out.
more studios should prank us with sneak peeks at unreleased movies.
I'll take it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have no
I've been
problem for that.
planning to hit up in my anticipation of Beau is Afraid. The Lincoln Center here in New York is doing a whole series presented by Ari Aster of films that somewhat influenced or inspired the creation of Beau is Afraid. And it's a really interesting lineup, partially just because of how varied they are. Like there's everything from Albert Brooks's Defending Your Life and Jacques Tati's Playtime to The Wolf House, that creepy Chilean horror film from a couple years back. Uh,
Big fan of that one.
so yeah, so if you are in the New York area, or even if you're not and want to just look up some of these films and prepare your own little Ari Aster marathon before you get to see Beau is Afraid, check out the Ari Aster selects selection from
Bruh.
Film at Lincoln
Is
Center.
it this long, or is this including the Q&A?
I think it's that long. Let me double check, but I think
Woo!
it's like legit a 3-hour movie.
Holy smokes! Because that was one of the jokes that I
Yeah,
heard where people are going like, "How are you getting swapped out a
2 hours
three-hour movie
59
with
minutes.
another 3-hour movie?" All right, that's cool.
Well, they said
Damn.
it was
All
the
right, definitely.
director's cut
It was
of
the director. Is
Midsommar.
this the director's cut too off the bat?
It
I can
feels
imagine the
like it.
director's cut for for Beau then.
Hey, while we're
Damn, do you
talking
remember the good
about
old days?
runtimes, sorry,
I was just gonna say,
I
do
was
you
gonna.
remember the good old days when it was Disappointment Boulevard?
I'm kind of digging the Beau is Afraid title. I know you really like
Now,
Disappointment Boulevard, but
yeah.
I'm leaning into it.
Oh, you were saying?
Speaking of runtimes, do you hear about the latest from our boy Scorsese?
I mean, you saw me just celebrate before you even said it. Hey, bro.
Uh,
4 hours
Apple's
and
letting the boy
counting,
cook.
please. New York Film Festival,
Uh,
right? Of course. Day one.
I mean, hopefully.
We'll see.
The question though, are you worried? Do you get any sort of bladder anxiety at the prospect of sitting down for a 4-hour movie, even if it is from Martin Scorsese?
I am getting older. When that Apple Watch goes up to get up, it's demanding now. But I'd sit there for the 4 hours, right? See, the thing is, we
Yeah.
love these movies the way we would love a performance, right? If a performer said, let's go till midnight, I'm not stopping that performer. So when
Mm-hmm,
I see
mm-hmm.
that these creators are able to give you their whole thing, sure. So what? I'd have to take one bathroom break, but the work is there. So, I always take the whole thing. But
Yeah,
you don't
I'll
feel a
get you
little
and me both.
antsy in your seat sometimes when it's over three
I'll
hours?
get you and
Do
me
you
both
feel like there
adult
should be an
diapers for the
intermission?
New York Film Festival screening.
Intercut, brought to you by Depends. A different type of keeps over here. But yeah, that was my favorite little one from this past week, dealing with movies that decided to April Fool's you. But there was one movie as we begin our March ranking list that April fooled itself in March. It was a movie called 65. I told Zach, let's go watch this movie. And instead, we decided to watch another one, which is also going to be lower on the list. But look, let me defend this one while also putting it at the bottom of the list. 65
All right.
is a movie where the directors, Scott Beck and Brian Woods, we got a whole LME on this, came out and wanted to make this really interesting project, right? What if there was a dinosaur movie, but you didn't know it was a dinosaur movie, and then the studio just spoiled it was a dinosaur movie? This thing could have been pitched as Cloverfield. It's one of those movies where you go into it watching it, every reveal is like what ends up being in the trailer. If they would have kept this a secret, I think it would have been a much funner movie. It's gotten to the point where the directors have come out and have literally stated, yeah, maybe 40 years from now, someone's gonna watch the movie and enjoy it the way it should be. As of now, they did it really, really dirty. I don't think you had the chance to catch this one, Zach.
No, not
But
yet.
it's not terrible. It was just done. It was done a terrible deed with the marketing, as another one that's going to be on this list. But if you haven't heard of it, it's a movie called 65. Everyone guessed it's 65 million years
Yeah.
ago. Adam Driver, he's this astronaut's got to deliver something. It crashes, and now it's just him and this little girl trying to survive in the prehistoric times that is 65 million years ago. And
It
they
feels.
wanted Tom Cruise for this. They didn't get him.
y- You were saying, yeah,
Good.
it does feel like it could be a Tom Cruise vehicle for sure. I mean, it. Just speaking specifically on Adam Driver, it is interesting to sort of think of his career and his choices in the context of this movie, because he's a guy who has worked with a lot of really interesting filmmakers on a lot of really interesting movies, many of which haven't necessarily been box office hits. As much as I love Annette or The Last Duel or White Noise, like those movies aren't exactly doing numbers for those studios who released them.
No,
And
sir.
he's been through the franchise ringer as Kylo Ren in Star Wars. Does not necessarily seem like he's all too eager to strap on a cape and jump into the MCU or anything like that. So it, do you get why he's in a movie like this? Do you like seeing him in a role like this, or is it just a case of picking the wrong film here for Adam Driver?
Mm, no, I think they were wanting. They did. If you had Tom Cruise in the horizon, and if you know
Mm-hmm.
that the guys from the 65 or from the A Quiet Place are the types of dudes who like to spawn into IP, I think he wanted this to be IP. I think he was
Yeah.
banking on this as being the one for them because he took a net, because he took White Noise. I know that those
Hmm.
kind of had a little bit bigger budgets for indie movies, but like if he took those films that didn't really hit at the box office, like Last Duel didn't hit, House of Gucci, regardless of you and I liking them, I think that's why he took a 65. It's been a minute. I know you said he hasn't donned a cape, but he had a pretty slick cape as Kylo Ren. That's 2019. I think it's been enough years. He
Hmm.
had to take something like this. I don't think he wanted to fully be in there. I think you asked him
Yeah,
about
well,
it, and all the interviews are like, "Yeah, it's cool, lasers, dinos." It was the
it's a
one for
way
them, in
of
my opinion.
doing kind of an original movie that could maybe become its own franchise without
Thank you.
necessarily committing yourself to Marvel, to
Exactly.
DC, to that larger infrastructure.
Those are those boys. Yeah, they like making movies
Yeah.
like that. So, you know what? It's not bad. It's another movie out there. And if a 65 pays for more Annettes that I know y'all liked, if it pays for more Marriage Stories,
Yeah.
I'll take it any day then. 65 in theaters. Wait at home. My recommendation. Another one that you can see right at home, Zach. You are a big fan of The Sandman. So much
Yeah,
so
it's my guy.
that this isn't at the bottom of the list. And I'm surprised to say that too. I don't remember the first one, so we pulled a double feature.
Nice.
I can't hate on them. This
Yeah,
is the best
they're
version
kind
of
of
Adam
charming.
Sandler going on vacation, bro. He's actually kind of just having a blast. Talk
Hmm.
about it. Murder Mystery 2. What'd you like more, the comedy or the murder or the mystery?
I mean, it's not exactly like the most involving murder mystery. It's not gonna leave you
No glass onion.
guessing and trying to figure it out the way that a Knives Out will. But like, it's enough of a fun hook that I think it's a good way to enter the Sandler Happy Madison verse. And I think maybe also because they're tethered to like some trying to tell this story, they don't go into some of the like absurd places that some of the Happy Madison movies that I don't like as much go. I think like for the most part, there's just a lot of charming sort of like marital back and forth between him and Jennifer Aniston, someone that he has very good chemistry with. A lot of like
Yes, sir.
dumb little bits, just like the him eating the cheese and stuff that like they just layered it in there and don't really call too much attention to it. There's just enough little funny gags from funny, charming people. I found this to be pretty inoffensive and genuinely a good time. Like it's not the best movie by any means, but if we're talking about like the types of turn your brain off entertainment that Netflix puts out there, it's definitely better than like the Red Notices of the world, right?
I would argue with that. It doesn't have the budget that those movies do, but I'll take that over absolutely no chemistry in those other movies. I don't care how
Yes.
much you're paying those stars. You can't pay them to like each other. By golly, they actually get along, bro. There are
Yeah.
riffs between the two of them that I couldn't help to be like, you know what? We all know this is paying for the next trip, but if y'all are having a blast, how is this any different than a vlog that the kids are watching,
Hmm.
right? I am surprised also with
Hmm.
the cast. We're watching this, and it's Alina who first got it. Was Jodie Turner Smith? I'm like, are you
Yep.
serious? Then
Yep.
Mark Strong appears as a detective. He, Melanie Laurent is in this movie, bro. Like,
Hey, good actors
what?
like a good vacation too.
Yo, when there's this moment in this movie where they arrive, because this one takes place in what is a wedding and someone gets kidnapped. They go to the
Yeah.
wedding and they have these like bags that they're given. And it comes with like an iPhone. It comes with like all these different things. And I'm just
Vintage
imagining being
Jordans.
a member of this
Yes.
dude, the Jordans, being a member of this cast, and that's what you arrive to is just this like
Basically.
a whole box set of goodie gifts. So yeah, Murder Mystery 3. Before y'all start filming, if you want to make it a podcast killer thing, Sandman, we got you. We're here.
Yeah, look, I've been trying to convince you that we got to do the Adam Sandler bracket. But here's the thing about
Let's
it
do it.
is like you wanted to ignore the Netflix movies. The Netflix movies are getting better. Murder Mystery is fun. Hubie Halloween is actually kind of funny. And
Oh
then
my gosh.
Hustle is a Netflix Adam Sandler movie.
Hustle, hustle don't count though. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But they're still on like the right side of the bracket, brother. They're not beating the uncuts. They're not beating the other ones. But one day,
Yeah.
sure. Even
Yeah.
Blumhouse guy has 2 Oscars. So one day, the Netflix Sandler movies will evolve. Who knows? Uh, calling it Murder Mystery by Knives Out. They're both Netflix properties. At
Hey,
some point, the Sandman and what's his name? They're gonna go
the
eat
dual
Popeyes together. So
the dual
Murder.
trilogy.
I mean,
Nobody's ever done
he's
that before.
You've seen him, right? He's sporting the beard, the mustache. He's trying to have his own
Yeah.
Hercule look over here. Don't get it twisted. So we'll see. We'll see. I like him. So far, they've been fun, and that's really all I can ask for when it comes to a Netflix movie. So, murder mystery, logging it in. I'm surprised to say I give it the thumbs up to watch at home if you
Hey,
need a decent watch. I don't think it's fantastic, but that's a pretty solid rating that I was not expecting it to give. You can see both of them
another
over on
win for the
Netflix.
Sandman.
Moving on to something in theaters. This is a shared experience that we have. Yes, it is coming in at the third place from the bottom because there is so many good things that happen in a movie that's so bad. Zach, I am a lover of the Scream franchise. I believe you've seen a couple of them. You respect the early ones for what they've done.
Yeah,
Why were you
I
so
caught up.
offended by Scream 6?
I caught up with the first one like not terribly long ago, maybe a couple years ago, and yeah, I enjoy it and really see its place among horror history, but it feels like the sequels really are just trying to like my draw more sap from the tree, and there's
Ridiculous.
less and less of it in there. I thought
Yeah.
that this was the worst of all the Screen films that I've seen. Just the one that is the sweatiest in trying to reflexively be about itself and comment on its own situation, has the least insight to offer. Some of these movies, what's great about them is they're putting their finger on a thing that movies normally don't name, and here they're just kind of throwing buzzwords like requel at you, and it just didn't really. I don't know. I don't find it that like exciting, and like when the first Scream film does it, it feels like they shouldn't be doing this. Movies can't do this, and now it's just very played out. Not to mention that this, of all the Scream films, feels like the one that tries the most to fake you out and then have everything be okay in the end. Just like the amount of kill scenes that do not end in a kill was unforgivable for a horror franchise that is supposed to be about the dead bodies. Like I just don't. I
Why
struggle to
fix
really
the
see a
old
reason to like
cliches
this one.
when you can just double down on them, right? It's
Exactly.
called an homage.
Yeah,
Look,
perfect. Now we can't criticize it.
exactly. Don't be a Richie. Isn't it funny that the people who complain the most about these movies end up having or that you can't complain about the movies are the ones who have the Richie profiles? And I know you said you had seen it for the first time right before we caught this at South by.
Yeah.
I'll start positive. Probably one of my favorite kills I've ever seen in a Scream movie. I hate these boys. Matt Bettinelli Open and Tyler Gillett. I think they go as a trio of I'm blinking on their name. They go by
It's not
Radio
like high
something.
voltage or
I
something like that. Radio silence.
No, it's Radio Silence. Thank you very much. Really cool name. I'm a big fan of Ready or Not. I loved a lot of the homages they had in this movie. They got the rights to a bunch of costumes that people were wearing. I think the
That's
cast
cool.
can be
Was
very
cool.
fun. Shout out Jenna Ortega, always clean. Like I said, there are some sequences in
She's
this
innocent.
film, and even in five, that I thought were fantastic. Why is it so painfully redundant? This is a
Mm.
movie that thinks it's calling out, like you said, requels. It keeps trying to make fetch happen. It's a movie that's making fun of franchises, not realizing that it's just using that as an excuse to do this stuff again. This is a movie that doesn't realize it's the horror version of the Fast and Furious movies. It has gone so beyond stuff that it doesn't realize it is not in on the joke. It is the joke. But I feel terrible and I feel crazy because nobody else sees that. Everybody else is loving what they have
Mm-hmm.
critiqued. Ghostbusters, I'm being serious here. Ghostbusters Afterlife 4. You guys have belittled the Fast and Furious movies for this. It turns out that, like Deadpool, and people have done this for Deadpool, they're not giving that as much leeway as this. If you just address what you're talking about, if we make fun of two guys hosting a podcast, Zach, then we are relieved of the two guys hosting a podcast meme. Like, that's not how it works. And somehow,
Mm-hmm.
like the characters in this movie, this franchise continues to dig themselves in a hole but comes out scot free. I don't understand it. I'm working on a much longer one. In the meantime, Amanda the Jedi made her video way back when. I think she liked this one a little bit more. I was really surprised to hear that. But a lot of the stuff she said for five, I agree with her completely. It's one of those where you have to go through the whole franchise to really see what they've done. Because I think it's a matter of a lot of people don't remember the old ones, so they're able to just redo a lot of two. Call it an homage, call it a day, wrap it up, and keep it going. But I don't know. I like you, dude. A lot of it just felt goofy. But shout out Jenna Ortega. always comes out scot free. She's been fantastic in everything she's in. And again, there's a lot to like. I understand why people enjoy the movie, but it's got to be at the
Yeah, the
bottom.
I think a lot of the kills do really work, and it is one of the like most
They're good
bloodthirsty scream
directors.
movies out there. I know some people were like conflicted about Ghostface picking up the gun, but that was like an actually tense scene. It's like most of the stuff surrounding those moments
The
that's kind
commentary
of
on that is
bogus and
so
easy to
lame.
see through. Yeah,
Think yeah, that it's one of those movies that stops to tell you what the commentary of the movie is,
yeah.
and then it thinks it's so novel for letting you know what it's doing, and it's like nobody, nobody. Hey, no offense, boys, but like no one wants to see a
Yeah.
horror movie that's telling you, "Hey, I got something to tell you."
Yeah. I also should have figured when they did their big world premiere in Los Angeles, but for a movie that's set in and marketed on the fact that it's set in New York, it's a Montreal ass looking movie.
How do you
Just
feel
putting
that
that
people
out
don't
there
care
too.
about?
I mean, I feel like it's people who don't live here who probably are saying all that stuff. Like, yeah, sure, it feels like New
It
York
is.
to somebody who lives in Dallas, but it if you spend some time in the city, like I don't know. It's also like I wouldn't mind. There's many movies that have said they're set in New York and are not set in New York, and I just watch a John Wick try to make our subways look like high tech bullet trains, but like I don't know. It's just when when you make it the central focus of your whole marketing campaign, it feels very bogus.
I have seen New York, Chicago, everything be used as whatever. So I
Hmm.
see why it's bogus. I hate when they change it for the story, for lame little moments that happen in alleyways just because you need a cop out. And at that point, it has nothing to even do with the city. It has to do with just how they're choosing settings for their setups.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. I like a lot of the people in the cast, bro, but
Yeah.
we'll see where they take it. Scream 6. A lot of people like it. It should be out in VOD in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and then on Paramount Plus. Another one that's going to be out very soon. Everyone was hating on this movie. Actually, I'm gonna bump up a bit, bro. You're not even gonna hear about it yet. Oh my goodness, I can't. Last minute edition. We're making an
Uh oh.
a little alt play right here. Before I get this one,
Audible.
let's talk about Tetris really quick.
Yeah.
Tetris was a movie that premiered at South by Southwest. It is now available on Apple TV Plus for everybody to see. I don't think it got a theatrical run. It only
Don't
played,
think so.
like we said, at places like the Paramount. We were able to go. If you look over on our Tetris review, we have some footage from the Tetris games that we played there. They gave us a lot of swag and merch. I got my little Tetris hat right here. Really dope hat. Zach has a really dope shirt. Oh yeah, the Tetris stickers. I got some of
Yeah.
the other
I
ones
got the
somewhere else,
squeeze
but
toy.
the squeeze toy was pretty dope. They gave you like
Yeah.
those marshmallow Tetris thingies. Your shirt in the back of the shirt that you had, that was
Yeah,
dope.
the
I
Japanese
thought that was one
Tetris,
of the
yes.
sickest ones. Um, love the game. This has
Yeah.
to be the most by the numbers movie I've ever seen. Oh my goodness! I had told Zach because he had missed this one. He had the chance to go to an ABC rap party, and he was way more filled than we were with this movie. This feels
Mhm.
like the spark notes of an actual like story. And I have another one that I'm going to come up to compare this to. But in a festival where we had stuff like Blackberry that really went all in, not just on its tone, but being able to really cover the characters and do it from a perspective where uh, you felt like you were going on their journey. This felt like a cutscene. This feels like when you're watching like a not even a History Channel thing, but almost like a not even a Vox Media thing, like a drunk history where someone's trying to recap you. This is how zany and crazy it was. Um,
Mhm.
and then they throw a
It
budget in there.
definitely
There's like titles that come out of nowhere. You saw
yeah,
it after the fact on Apple.
mhm. I mean, like every moment where somebody hands a manila envelope to another person is like, this is the contract for the license to Tetris on PC, and then the score
Yeah.
like dramatically goes bum. It feels like college humor parody rather than like actual
Exact. Thank you.
docudrama, and it's
Yeah.
like I just feel like it ultimately got the tone wrong. Like there's something very ridiculous and interesting. Like it is very interesting that this game that everybody thinks of as this like minor little diversion got caught up in this like Cold War drama
It's
almost of
crazy.
like
Yeah.
you know competing ideologies and, and Russian government trying to hold the license and stuff like it's a very crazy story. But I feel like if you don't play into how ridiculous it is that we're all taking Tetris this seriously, like you're miscalculating at some point. And it goes all over the place. Like there's animated moments like you're alluding to, and there's these car chases, and it just
Random.
all kind of feels like throwing ideas at the wall and not like one movie.
I don't even think when they were shooting it that the editors knew, that the actors knew that there was going to be certain things in
Yeah.
the movie. It's so disjointed. And you had mentioned like a college humor thing. We don't mind if they committed to a tone like that. Take the movie to, but it really does start and stop, and it feels like a bad game of Tetris. They got the blacks coming all over the place. Nothing seems to fit, which you
Yeah.
can make work in a Tetris game, but if you don't know how to execute it, it's not going to turn out well. I have an interview with Taryn equating the addiction of playing Tetris to crack. He doesn't even see why people should be that obsessed with it. But hey, if this is one of many Tetris movies, sadly, it's the one with the name. It's the biggest one that's going to be out there. It's the most by the numbers movie, very corporate like movie for a movie that's kind of calling out corporations and the creator and the artist. I hate seeing movies like that. That's why I would recommend other ones like Blackberry that we saw in by or this upcoming one, Pinball, the man who saved
Hmm.
the game. Before I get to that, Tetris, leaving the house for it or no? What's your overall rating?
I mean, you
I
can't
left
leave
for
the
it,
house for it, but I don't
and
think
I
you
would say
should
stay
if you
home.
could. Yeah.
Would you still recommend it as a stream it if you have Apple TV Plus?
It's not the worst movie. I could see starting it and then stopping it. Like, don't organize a big like Tetris game night around it. But yeah, like it's totally streamable. And not definitely not like the worst thing we've seen
Mm-hmm.
from Apple TV.
Agreed. But someone has made a doc on YouTube about the history of Tetris, and that shouldn't be more exhilarating than the feature
Right.
film.
Right.
Pinball, the man who saved the game, is one I would leave the house for as a matinee, a little junior price. It
Okay.
was pretty decent. It's not perfect. It's a little rough around the edges. It's a little corny as well. You have the main guy who is playing the dude who fought for this game because pinball, I had no idea, was
Yeah.
banned in New York, in Chicago. Like it wasn't allowed. They thought it was a mafia thing. Is LaGuardia
Hmm.
himself when he was ruling said absolutely not. We're taking this away. And one dude played in a younger version in the flashbacks by the one and only Mike Feist,
Mike
the homie from West
Feist.
Side Story,
Yeah.
coming in with. I want to see if I could pull a good picture here. This thing, he had a co-star in this
Oh,
movie,
a
and it
full
was
on
this
caterpillar.
mustache on his face. This thing, like, look, the internet wants to censor it. They don't want you to see. It is a it's a rake, bro. It's a brush. There it is right there.
Full broom.
If
Somebody
that
get a
doesn't let you
dustpan.
know how cartoony the point of this movie is, because you also have the older version of him kind of narrating everything, stopping the movie, going, no, 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 that's not how it went. Then
Right.
maybe the movie's not going to be for you. But I went into that knowing it. I went into this already having seen what Tetris tried to do. At least, Zach, there was heart in this movie. It
Mm.
obviously is going to show you what this guy who loves pinball so much did to save the game, because he's not a guy who works for the industry. He's just a dude who loves the game. You get to see the relationship that he has with his partner, how they work together. I just overall thought it was a pretty fun movie, very heartfelt. I would recommend it, man. Pinball,
Nice.
the man who saved the game, came out of nowhere, and glad it did because it showed me what Tetris could have been. So I
Yeah,
know this has a little bit of a theatrical run.
it feels from your description that this one at least gets the tone a little bit more right for a movie that's
Easily.
about something silly but in a serious way.
It knows what it is. So if you have the chance, I know it may not be able to be caught in theaters, but I would highly recommend at least to rent it for this one. But I thought this one was really cute.
Nice.
Pinball. Next up, Zach, there was people talking about this film not doing well. Is it the end of the industry? Are
Ugh,
superhero movies over?
done. No more Kate flicks after
Shazam
this one.
Fury of the Gods is not that bad.
Really?
It's not that bad. I like the first one. I don't know your opinions on the first one. I thought the first one was
I like
cute.
the first one.
It- what Zach, what if I were to tell you this is exactly the same thing?
Okay.
In the best way possible. If you like the first one, this has everything you like from the first one, but doesn't pull a Hangover 2 repeat. It's actually new. You now have the Shazam family who has now turned into these alter egos, and you get to see them more. In the last one, they were like in the last 10 minutes. So you have something
Mhm.
completely different going on here. On top of that, I would argue that everybody else delivers in this movie more than Zachary Levi, who plays Shazam in Shazam. He's probably the worst part of the movie right now, in the movie and outside of the movie. The dude
Yeah.
needs to stop live streaming. I went into this having heard everybody say this is the end of the superhero industry. This movie's not making back its money. It was it was fine. I don't understand how people loved the first one, liked the first one, enjoyed the first one, and now everyone doesn't care for this one. But the thing is, I noticed nobody saw it. So it got stuck in the middle of John Wick and whatever else. People did not give, because no one showed up for it. They didn't give this one the
Yeah.
time of day. But I think once this hits HBO, which is reportedly hitting by the end of the week or mid-April, which is so
Oy.
fast,
Oy.
I don't think that people are going to hate it. I think people are going to enjoy this when they're back in the comfort of your own home. Surprisingly, I went out to the theaters to go see it. There was still one last Dolby showing, and I'm here to say, the boy Jack Dylan Glazer, I should have never doubted you. I came to learn that he was the first who was cast in the first movie, and everyone
Hmm.
chemistry read around him.
Hmm.
He made me do a spit take in the second one, Zach. If you can make me do a spit take, I am recommending that if this movie's still out in theaters and you at least like the first one, you don't need to
Okay.
rush out. But if you would have seen the first one in theaters, you still have the chance to see the second one in theaters as well. I'm not saying it was a hit, but technically it was because all the rock stuff has probably been more interesting than everything going on. And we've had this discussion. What is it with WB having more drama behind the scenes and have that be more interesting than the movies that they're making? I don't get it, bro. The
It's
whole
rough.
cast is great. CGI is just as iffy as the other one, but again, this is just as good as the first one. So if you like the first one, give us a shot, or just wait a couple weeks. It's gonna be on HBO.
How's Rachel Zegler? I was really curious to see how she's doing in her first like major role post West Side Story.
You know, I loved her voice in West Side Story. She looks great in
Mhm.
West Side Story. Did not care for the acting in West Side Story. Her and Dylan Glazer were my favorite part of this movie.
Okay, hell yeah.
You know, hey,
Good to
I
know.
went in with. I went in late to this movie. You know, it's been weeks that it's been out. I got to give them their due.
So
I understand the fatigue, but it's not bad.
so of the recent sort of like superhero slump, the Black Adam into Ant-Man the Quantumanium and Shazam Fury of the Gods. This to you is easily the best of those three.
Yeah, like what? Like it doesn't even have to be great, but it. What you look what you just mentioned. Like yes, 100%. It's better than
So
those, and it just
should they not be in the same conversation, or is it just the best of the three?
no. They're enwrapped in the same conversation, especially when you're talking about something like Black Adam and this one and all the behind the scenes. That's a whole other video. Working on an LME for that. How embarrassing, right? The whole family has to eat. Why are you like taking from? It makes no sense to me. But that's a whole behind the scenes that you could hear. Zachary Levi did an entire live stream on that. Who's to blame? Is it Black Adam? Is it The Rock? Is it these guys? I don't know. It's a mess. None of them are getting it. But then at the same time, leave it to DC to have gotten rid of the entire Justice League how many years ago? And I just saw a cameo in this movie from someone who doesn't have a job, and I'm waiting for the new Batman cameo.
Right?
So who knows what's happening,
Yeah.
dude? I don't know. In the meantime, they're losing a lot of money, but you know what? They made the movie they were supposed to make. So,
Yeah.
yeah, check it out. I like Rachel Zegler. The whole cast is funny. Adam Brody, yo, Adam Brody gets down Jack Dylan Glazer perfectly because this guy doesn't. I don't know who he's doing, but he's not Billy. Like when he becomes Shazam,
Yeah.
he's doing something else.
He's playing like
Everybody
a
else
12-year-old,
actually
it
plays the
feels
kids.
like. Yeah.
Bro, did you see that? There was something going around that the actors were liking the subs that they were making to him, saying like he doesn't even play Billy. He plays like some other 12-year-old, and they are liking it. I don't know how true that is or what they deleted, but hey,
That's
he
funny.
calls it the Shafamily, Shazamly. I don't know what the heck he calls his family. He has a name for it.
Trying
It's
too
really
hard to
cringy,
make
dude.
fetch happens. Yeah.
A lot of these, yeah. But
So you're gonna miss
not even living by it, bro.
You're gonna
The
miss
Shazam.
Zachary Levi's Shazam. You're
I'm gonna
starting.
miss-
Should you start the petition for Shazam 3 right now?
I'm starting the petition for the spinoff with the boy Jack Dylan Glazer because that's who needs it. I would have taken a whole movie
All
with
right.
just him. He's the best.
Cool.
He's great. Jack Dylan Glazer, 5 stars. Shazam, I'm gonna log it in at 3.25, bro. But they don't let me give that, so I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
There you
I
go.
liked it. On a rewatch, I might lean in more over there, but it was a little rough sometimes. But yeah, Shazam. I was surprised with it, Zach. When it comes out on HBO,
Cool.
give it a watch if you like the first one. I did a double feature with this one though, with another one that I know you haven't had the chance to catch, but I think you will enjoy it. A Good Person. Another feature film directed by Zach Braff, who you may know a little bit more because I've never gone back to see Garden State. Never.
Really? Oh,
I've
man.
never seen this movie, and
Uh,
I hear mixed things. I hear
yeah.
people say
So
this changed their life. Others think it's the
it's
cringiest thing.
interesting.
You tell me.
It's interesting because like I feel like that movie was really special to a lot of young people when it came out, and a lot of those young people have grown to sort of like resent that version of themselves. And I like it's a very kind of like
Hmm.
earnestly emotional movie about not feeling comfortable as yourself. So like there's stuff to relate to, and I think there's a lot of like actually genuinely sweet moments, but there's some stuff that's a little bit like Zoe Deschanel era quirky going on. I don't know. I still have a very warm place in my heart for Garden State. I think
Oh,
it's a very
thumbs
sweet
up for
film.
you. Okay.
Yeah, I unfortunately think it's the only good thing that Zach Braff has ever directed, potentially until A
Really?
Good Person.
See, it's crazy that I can't believe he did Going in Style that I have seen.
What a random choice for him.
What a random choice, but hey, I do it too if it ends up getting you freaking
Morgan
Morgan
Freeman.
Freeman for what would be a good role.
Mm-hmm.
A good person makes me think that he's a better director than he is an actor, Zach. I thought this movie was pretty good. I
Oh damn,
really liked it.
the 4 star
Uh,
and the heart.
they were dating at this point. Florence Pugh, Zach Braff. He's got a personal story of what this means to him and how he started writing this, especially during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And Florence Pugh plays someone who is in a relationship. An incident happens that causes everything to spiral out of control. There are some substance abuse issues, and the idea is can she remain with the family after the incident? And her mom's played by Molly Shannon, who does a freaking fantastic job just trying to make sure that her daughter's okay while also maybe getting addicted to certain pills that she shouldn't be after the incident. Morgan Freeman plays the father of the family she was involved with, and he just like he's a good actor, bro. I don't know if you know this, but like he could just stare out in the scene and really deliver. Florence Pugh, she's kind of decent, dude. She could just stare out in the scene and you know that's a whole character in the
Mm-hmm.
back of her mind there. They do a fantastic job in this movie. It is heartfelt. It is funny at times when it needs to be. You'll get hit with some really good supporting characters like Zoe Lister-Jones doing what Zoe Lister-Jones needs to do, not some craft stuff. She does a fantastic job here as a supporting character who's her sponsor. There are other moments where she's coming across some old acquaintances. Let's see if I could have him here. I don't even have him on the. We had one of the brothers, right here, Alex Wolf, to see two Ari Aster alums come together for a scene.
Hmm.
Fantastic, dude. Just overall, it had us laughing. It had us tearing up. I really liked his direction with this. I really liked the cast, the performances, all around a really good movie. If you have the chance to catch this in a theater, I would recommend it. But definitely catch it once it comes out home because I'm sure that it will be a wider release in that sense. But it is long, hour or
Mm,
129 minutes, but it's worth
mm.
it for the story that it tells. And she really did cut her hair. Great movie. A good person.
Do you like it more as a drama? Do you feel like it was equally comedic, or it feels a little bit more
Equally.
drama leaning?
No, bro.
No,
That's
good.
why I'm so impressed with his directing. Right? We just talked about Tetris and how that just
Yeah.
did not. The blocks were all over the place. I no, he handled it perfectly. Him making you laugh after he makes you cry, makes you laugh harder, makes you cry harder after you laugh. Like it's just a perfect sync, dude. It's really good. It's really good.
All right.
I hope you
I'm
get to catch
happy
it
for the
soon
boy.
because so am I, dude. And what a great duo between those two, Morgan Freeman and Florence Pugh. She's fantastic. One little final
Apparently,
thing
he's
is
been directing some shrinking episodes recently too.
he said he did the finale, which I'm missing yet. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But overall, fantastic film. Florence Pugh is great in it. Catch it when you can. The next one that we have up here is a documentary. I have a stand-up special, but I'll put it on my picks for the week.
Cool.
There is a quick little shout out here to a Chicago doc from a couple years ago about these two artists who live together in a home. I think you'll be really intrigued with this because we've had some similar ones over at Sundance. The whole documentary is going through their relationship through the items that they've collected in their Chicago home.
Oh, yeah, I think you were telling me about this one. Yeah.
Bro, when this hits, I'm just gonna leave it. You're like, you know, when you're watching a doc where you're like, yes, this is gonna wreck me in an hour and 11 minutes, isn't it? I
Set the
present to you
countdown
that,
timer.
that doc. I'll leave it there.
All right.
Dude, this popped up. I looked at it. I was like, 2020. This is barely getting a release. I looked it up really quick. Oh, it hit me exactly what this doc was. So I'm sure there's an
Yeah.
old intercut where I had mentioned this as probably a best doc. It is now out on VOD. My
Awesome.
bad. I said VOD. It's not appearing here. It's out on the Criterion channel. Love to see it there. So I highly recommend this one. It's really short. It's gonna break your heart. You're also just gonna get very invested with them, and it's just beautifully documented. So late, so soon. Playing
Nice.
on Criterion. Over on Hulu, as we're getting into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, top 8. I don't think Zach has
Mm.
this in the top 10. He was telling me, but I
Not
kind of
really.
liked it. Hulu has a new movie called The Boston Strangler as a part of their, what is it, like the entire Fox lineup that would have been going into theaters at some point?
Yeah.
Straight to streaming. Look, I'd say this would have been worth a nice little matinee movie because I think it goes hand in hand with something like She Said. I think She Said is better, but I didn't think this was that bad. It's about the Boston Strangler and the pursuit between two female journalists who were trying to get him. I like seeing that like piece by piece journalism. I like the way that it was shot. It's very misty. It puts you really into that period setting. I thought the production design was fantastic. But you agree it should have gone to streaming?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't as into the story it was trying to tell. I mean, even that look that you mentioned, which I agree it does look good, but it's very much like, do you see David Fincher's Zodiac? Let's do that. Let's try and get that look into
Hey,
this
I like
one.
it, but you're right.
And like
I like it, but you're right.
like and sorry, like you're not David Fincher. You know, they even have a scene where Keira Knightley is like brought into a basement and begins to suspect that she's in the basement and gets the hell out of there, exactly like in Zodiac. This whole film just felt like Diet Zodiac to me, and I couldn't shake that thought for long enough to really get into it.
I like it.
I don't know.
I think it's a good junior.
Yeah,
But I agree
I
with you. Yeah.
yeah.
If you're looking
I
at
mean,
it
it's
that
definitely
and you
like
feel it's redundant,
it's in that mold. So like if you're looking for that style of film, like I don't think it's necessarily like a bad version of it. It's just that one that
thank you.
feels indebted to the films that came before it in that regard. And I also think that She Said is like a good comparison here because they do really hit the like female in a male dominated world stuff, but in similar to She Said, they kind of don't make it subtext, they make it text. And like my mileage for films that like speak the problem out loud can vary. So I don't know.
True.
I grew a little tired of it. I don't think it's the worst thing, but yeah, it wasn't for me.
When it's a journalism movie, I give it a little bit more. But I agree with what you're saying when movies
Right.
decide to not have the text like that. But Carrie Coon, bro, I have to. She's great in it. She's
Yeah,
fantastic. Always knocks it out of the park.
can't
One of my
go
favorite
wrong.
actresses working today, so you can't go wrong with that. But overall,
Hmm.
I would say it's worth leaving for matinee. For you, should people still stream it on Hulu?
I'd skip it personally.
Skip it. Oh, dang. All
Yeah.
right. The first split we got for the day for sure on Boston Strangler. It is over on Hulu. So if you're curious, give it a watch. Let us know if you prefer that one
Hmm.
or She Said. The next one, you got the chance to catch it. I covered it a little bit in Chicago. So tell me what you felt about The Lost King.
Yeah, this is an interesting movie. It premiered at TIFF last year and was kind of the movie that I kept forgetting was at TIFF because it's not a very like remarkable, flashy, splashy kind of film. It's not like a very distinctive looking movie or got the most unique or like different story or approach to it. Another collaboration between the director Stephen Frears and the writers Steve Coogan and Jeff Pope. Stephen Frears previously directed a lot of very kind of like stately
Bruh.
dramas. He's the guy who
Yes.
directed The Queen. He directed Philomena, his previous collaboration with Steve Coogan. Just very kind of dramas that feel a little bit like buttoned up, right? Like there's nobody who is like going through a mental breakdown and nobody who's like gonna be out on the street if they don't figure it out. I don't know. It's mostly people like nice people figuring stuff out together. And like
I feel
there's
you.
nothing wrong with being a nice movie about people figuring stuff out. It's just like not the thing that I think of when I watch 40 films in a week at something like TIFF. So unfortunately, like a very competent retelling of like recent history falls through the cracks, and I feel like this is one of those movies that people are going to see and really enjoy because it's a very solidly constructed film, and there's lots of like very good jokes from a very good joke writer in Stephen Coogan in it. It's just not necessarily like a very splashy movie.
I feel you. I mean, when we saw it in Chicago, it was like our in between movie because we just had to be there. We had
Yeah,
already paid for the parking.
exactly.
So I feel you. Yeah, it does feel in the nicest way the movie of the week, and in the nicest way, not as like a
Yeah,
derogatory. It feels like yeah, this was a report that people saw at one point, and it's big for them. I see people in the chat talking about this. I don't remember this, but yeah. Spoiler alert about what happens in this movie. It's all about a woman who does her research and kind of is almost talking to a version of an old king who she believes his bones are in the parking lot of
yeah,
this place and kind of needs the funding to get him out. And some people believe her, don't believe her. Some people want to take credit when it starts to kind of be true. I was in it mainly just because it was Sally Hawkins. I think Sally Hawkins is
yeah.
adorable, and you had mentioned the previous movies Steven
Fantastic
has done,
actress.
like Philomena. Philomena is good. This felt like the more
Yeah,
adorable, cuter, more embracing movie than Philomena, because
yeah. The
Philomena
one that
almost to
isn't
me
like
felt like Oscar bait.
yeah,
Yes,
Philomene is
yeah,
more trauma related too, and this is like a lot
thank you.
sunnier. Like it's ultimate. Like yes, it is this woman who is like
There's
at
inklings,
her
yeah,
wits end trying to convince people that history isn't as they remembered it. But like the stakes aren't life or death. They're like is her life's work gonna matter or not, right? And
yeah,
like it's there's something charming to that too. I think the
right, yeah.
way in which she's able to convince people, it's like it's a heartwarming movie that's also based on a true story, which is kind of cool. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a worthwhile watch. I would leave the house for this one. Maybe if you like
Really?
want to go with like your mom or your dad. It's a good parent movie, right?
That is that's a great parent movie. For me, I kept saying, and I know it's not on it. It's like the perfect Apple TV Plus movie.
Yeah,
If it gets picked up by there, I would love to see it there. But hey, it's charming for what it is. It's pretty short. It doesn't top the 2 hours. The Lost King, little adorable movie. Sally Hawkins is always great. Check that one out if you're interested. A Sundance pick from 2 years ago. It is now out on VOD. Palm Trees and Power Lines, a movie I consider so effective, it's very difficult to
mm.
recommend. Zach, why are you recommending it?
I wasn't necessarily in the camp of recommending it for most of its runtime, because there are other movies that touch on a similar subject of what it's like being in a relationship with an age gap, particularly like a predatory one, because she is a teenager dating this guy in his what is his late 20s, early 30s. I forget. It's been
Yo, my man in my 30s, bro. 100%.
30s, 30s.
5
Yeah.
years into a mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. So like a predatory relationship, and I think it does a good job of depicting it in an authentic, albeit unremarkable necessarily way. And then you get like further on, and that third act takes some really brave turns, some kind of uncomfortable moments that I feel like there are going to be people in the audience who get very who feel like a very visceral negative reaction to choices that are made, but they are choices that feel true and choices that are honest in a way that we often don't get from films that try to leave you with a happy ending. And I'm
Yes.
not trying to forecast where this movie's going. I'm just saying that like I think that I think that there's some real insight to be gleaned from the
Hmm.
portrayal of these of this teenager.
Couldn't agree more. We had Starling Girl from this year that's very similar in that vein from Sundance.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of ones where, as X says, towards the end they try to like really wrap it up in a nice bow. Uh, it's so uncomfortable, and I recommend it as well for that exact reason. This is not a movie that's trying to give you a fairy tale. It's trying to give you the truth, and it executes it flawlessly. It's meant to make you uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons why I like the comedy Bodies, 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 and people get really
Mm.
annoyed with the characters there. It's because they're playing them so true. People want a different type of movie with this. No, it's going to play it as close to the heart. And I agree with you. The way that this one wraps up and just the whole consistent tone that they have through it, it's scary. If
Yeah.
you push back on it, you're not pushing back on the movie. You're pushing back on something that's really happening. And this is the epitome of
Yeah.
a storyline like this. So
And I honestly
highly recommend.
wonder it I honestly wonder if my struggle with the first half or so of it was anticipating it going into a less interesting place than it ended up. So maybe if I
Sure.
did sit down with the rewatch, I would glean more from what came before it, but that ending really nails it, and
Yeah.
it stuck with me even though I didn't not much else from the film other than the performances has stuck with me that way. That ending really stood out.
Throw in the writing because, as you had mentioned, a lot of people go into a movie and they're not critiquing the film, they're critiquing how they feel about actions. So
Yes,
they'll think that
yes.
something is bad writing, but it's not bad writing. You just don't realize that that dumb decision that that person made is because they're a kid, and they're making these decisions all the time. And yeah, it's not going to be a comfortable watch, but it
Yeah,
delivers.
it's
So palm
not
trees power.
not one for the people who base their letterbox reviews on like does the movie hit certain criteria, right? Like it's
Are they morally okay? Yeah. No, we're
yeah,
not reviewing the characters. We're reviewing the project. So
exactly.
if you're able to catch this is one where it's like we give it a high rating, but this is why I always say, don't leave the theater. Don't go out for this one. This is one where you gotta like, it's gonna impact you. Let it impact you at home because it gets
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. We all saw it together in a screening room for this year, and we were all just like, "Yo, crack a window, do something. This is
Ugh.
so awkward." But it does a really good job breaking it down. Palm trees
Yep.
and power lines. I don't know how we're taking the biggest pivot I've seen, but there is another movie from a director who once made a film about a rubber tire that killed people. Smoking Causes Coughing is the newest film from Quentin Dupieux, if I'm saying that correctly,
Yes.
who has
My
made.
guy.
Let's do this, Zach. Deerskin. If I remember correctly, the jacket talked to him.
Yeah, it was a jacket that convinced him to murder people, I believe.
Right. Jacket convinced him to murder people. Mandibles. That's where the two Bill and Ted doofuses found a pet fly that's the size
Yeah,
of a
the
dog
giant
in their
fly.
trunk.
Yep.
And Adele plays a woman who speaks like this the whole time. That's crazy. That's crazy. Do you remember Keep an Eye Out?
I
Where a
didn't see
guy's
that one.
interrogating another. Oh, you got to see that one, bro.
I know.
All takes place in one room, and the guy interrogating the other guy ends up being the guy interrogating the other guy. I don't even remember what happened. We now have entered this Power Rangers like, I don't even know what to call this, bro.
Tobacco
Avengers.
Force.
They're the Tobacco Force, all named after mesothelioma. They're all named after like weird, I don't know, anti-tobacco slogan things that come
Yeah.
together to fight these again almost Power Ranger like villains, um, in the name of stopping people from smoking because smoking causes coughing. They then also stop the movie to get like new missions, but then at the same time are telling stories to each other by the campfire.
Yeah.
And then the movie
It's
ends. Zach, where do you rank this?
5 stars. I loved it. No. I'm not going that high. But look, I love Quentin Dupieux's absurd sense of humor. Like nobody is
One way to put
doing
it.
crazier premises for his comedies than Quentin Dupieux right now, and he loves like these weird characters, these kind of like difficult sometimes people. Uh, and I don't know. There's just such a like silliness to everything he does. Like you mentioned, the this is a film about like the Tobacco Force, which are a Power Rangers looking like group that fights crime in the name of anti-smoking, and
And they
but
look slick.
and it looks like but like so it's a chance for him to sort of like parody like spy shows and superhero movies, but as you mentioned,
Yeah.
there are all these sort of like tangents because it's kind of also an anthology film where they sit around the campfire and tell each other stories.
Yeah.
um which grants him the chance to just throw in these like very absurd short films into the middle of the film. But I don't know. It's like the kind of movie where a woman is in a very serious romance with a puppet weasel that's constantly spewing
No,
green
yeah, of
ooze from
course.
its mouth. And if like you
Well,
that
it's a love
doesn't
triangle.
sound and if it doesn't sound like that sounds fun and silly to you, like there's going to be a million jokes that annoy you in this film. I
For
thought
sure. And it's short.
all a million of those jokes were funny here. This is to me, I actually think this
Interesting.
might be Quentin Dupieu's funniest film.
Wow.
Not his
I
best,
still
but his
have.
funniest.
Okay, right off the bat, I think I still have to give it to Mandibles. I don't think he's made me laugh as hard as he's had in
Mandibles is
Mandibles
so good.
consistently, especially because even in this one, the one where Adele takes over, the her little storyline, I thought that one had some of the funniest moments with the woman who gets
Yes.
a helmet on. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I
But
also
there's
love
just these.
how down to play Adele Exarchopoulos is with Quentin Dupieux. She is so
Let me.
funny in his movies.
Yeah, we gotta pay her respect here, bro. Where is she? Where she appears over here? Like for a side character to go that hard makes no sense. You know, out of the two, and blue is the warmest color. You know, Leo went out. She's in the 007 movies, but the route that Adele has taken has just been fire, bro. I know it's not these
Yeah.
big movies, but we loved her in Passages.
Yeah.
She was great in Mandibles, and she
I've heard
continues
she's
it
really
here.
great in The Five Devils, which is recently
Really?
been released on or coming to Shudder in May, maybe.
Ooh, okay. Gonna keep an eye out for this one. Looks like it's getting pretty good reviews. All right, dope.
Yeah.
She kills her in everything she's in, so she's always a highlight. So if you if you have not tried a Quentin Dupieux film, this one is very short. It's 80 minutes, and it will definitely give you the greatest hits of everything that he's done. Okay, if not, go back and watch some of his other ones. I would recommend Mandibles. To me, this is
I
his
also
crazy version of Bill and Ted.
I really like
You know,
Deerskin. That's another very weird one.
Deers.
But if you're looking for something with like a little bit of a horror tinge to it too, Jean Dujardin is very good in it. Adele Hanel from Portrait of a Lady on Fire also shows up in that one.
I know he was in The Artist. Deerskin's the best performance this man has ever done in his life.
Yeah.
The one point where he grabs the jacket and he's like not feeling it for a little bit, and then he puts it on, and then he just gives himself a look about like, damn, I'm actually kind of good in it. I was like, yo, you're killing this, bro. You are killing this. Don't ever do drama again. You kill it in comedy. He
Yeah.
was fantastic in that. So I don't know. Quentin is that comedy director at the moment. If you want to do something crazy and quirky, you got to go with him. And this one was in English. I want to see him do more English stuff. I don't want him to stay completely away from French movies. But I think the more English stuff that he does, I think the wider of an
Yeah.
audience he's going to have. And I don't know. He deserves it. This man makes
Yeah,
like
I'm
2 movies
surprised
a
he
year, doesn't he?
hasn't. Yeah, he's pretty consistent. He churns them out. It's like every 9 months or something. I'm a little
Crazy.
surprised he hasn't gotten a bigger chance in English because his movies are so much fun.
Yeah. I agree. So if you haven't tried them, take a little sample of Quentin Dupieux with one of his
Yeah.
recent features. Definitely check out Adele's movies as well because she's been doing a fantastic job. A little quick mention for this next one over here. I don't even have this linked right here, but it is a movie that we have a much bigger review, so we'll keep it brief. I recommend going out to the theater, surprisingly so, for Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I didn't think we would that. Zach didn't get to go to the South by premiere, and we were like, "Are you really gonna miss much?" None of us were looking forward to this movie. You have now caught it. What do you think?
I'm a little more lukewarm than you and Amanda were coming off that premiere. I still think it's a pretty fun time. Like it's definitely a good time at the movie theater and worth going to. I just like didn't I didn't think the jokes hit as much as I wanted them to. I
Not as
ended
much
up
as Game Night
thinking
for
that
sure.
yeah, definitely not as funny as Game Night. I ended up thinking the funniest bit in the movie was that whole uh, bit where they asked the corpses questions, which they had in the featured in the marketing already. So it's like I'd
Spoiled
already
in the
seen,
trailer, bro.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd already seen the thing that I thought was funniest in the entire film. I don't know. I was a little. I wanted it to be a little bit more leaning on the comedy, whereas it was very firmly
Really?
like an adventure movie. Maybe I was
Adventure
thinking it would be
comedy.
I was thinking it'd be maybe a little bit more joke forward. Like it's even less joke forward
Really?
than like their Spider-Man scripts. I feel like.
I think it's as equal. I've heard people
Mhm.
think that it's too comedic. They wanted it to be more action packed because they're
Really?
still scared of the Jeremy Irons one, because that one went way too serious.
Yeah.
The part I liked about it is it feels like people who are playing a game. It feels like a part of like I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I understand it's like a
Yeah.
mafia type game. You are acting in it, and
Hmm.
I thought they delivered in that perfectly. I think everyone's likable in the movie. You didn't like the big little cameo?
I
That
I
killed me,
thought
bro.
that I thought it was funny. It was so random. Like it also he didn't
It's
look like like he's got kind of like a very mustache heavy 5 o'clock shadow going on. So I
it's
wasn't
so funny.
sure.
Right? It took
It,
it took me the third angle of him to realize it, but I don't know.
yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought the action delivered. I thought Rajay. I understand why people like that dude. We have a
Yeah.
whole longer
I
review
thought
with
he
Amanda the
was
Jedi for South by. It's
he
good,
was
right?
my standout. I thought he was extremely good in it. He completely understood what the tone of the movie was. The other thing that I wanted to ask you because I was thinking about it is this now Chris Pine's best role? Because I like Chris Pine a lot as an actor, but he's kind of struggled for finding like the right project. And yeah, like he was in that Star Trek trilogy for he was Captain Kirk for a bit, but I feel like those movies have been a little bit memory hold.
I cannot argue with you there. I'm not arguing for Steve Trevor. There's got to be some tiny thing that I like.
There's some
Look, I
movie we're
can't answer
forgetting,
that.
I'm sure.
There's got to be something or some
Because I
cameo he's
really like his
made.
performance in Into the Woods, but I also don't like Into the Woods very much.
I feel bad for. I love Chris Pine. There's no disrespect to Chris Pine.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the feature in his movies that he leads a little bit. I heard he's directing. He just got a movie
Yeah.
on the horizon.
Yeah.
I think it's this.
It's
He
basically like
has not sold it.
Chinatown, but starring him as a
So you
pool
heard?
boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. The way he pitches it, I like his excitement, but I also like what the premise is about. He wrote, directed it, got Danny DeVito in it. He said he wants to sell it to A24. I don't know. Maybe he's got a second leg in life over here because I think he
Yeah.
has no problem getting these roles. But you're right. Are we remembering them? Because he almost feels like like he wants to be Harrison Ford, and he's taking the Harrison Ford roles, but we're not remembering him like we do Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But he's
I
doing everything right.
wonder I wonder if he's gonna be on a similar trajectory to like all very different actors, but like a Brad Pitt,
Ooh,
where when Brad started to show a little bit of age, wasn't like the extremely handsome leading man, he got to take on some more interesting, memorable roles.
But you still remembered everything prior to that for Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
That's why I feel
yeah,
bad for. He also gets lost with Chris.
the
Personally,
Chris's,
I
yeah,
love The Finest Hours. I didn't pull it up right now, but I'm a big fan of The Finest Hours.
yeah.
And I think your
Hell or
answer's
High
right
Water,
here
very
off the
good.
chat.
Yeah,
It's off the chat. Devesh is right. It's Hell or High Water, cleared, in my opinion, unless there's something else.
yeah.
But
Although that's
yeah.
not like a movie that is extremely well known. Like you and I really liked it, but it's certainly
Oh,
not
I see what
gonna
you mean. Oh,
have
you
the
okay? Yeah. Well, his best performance here in terms of popularity, yeah, I guess just Star Trek.
Star Trek.
I did feel like people just know Chris Pine, so
Yeah,
he's just
yeah,
playing Chris Pine.
that's fair too. He's a very recognized. I mean, it's probably like getting spit on by Harry Styles, right?
His best role to date.
Yeah,
What's his name too? He's about to be Mario. It's almost like him too. We don't
Chris
know
Pratt.
him from any. He's just. There's an issue with the Chris's. There's an epidemic, pandemic, whatever the is.
Yeah,
I feel bad for them. They can't break out. They can't break out of the mold. You
yeah,
also cannot name me a Chris Pratt role that isn't just the Chris Pratt role, the Chris Pine role.
yeah,
Honestly, the Chris Evans role. They're all kind of the same in my opinion. So
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
it's the minorities in Hollywood, the Chris's for. I hope they're able to survive.
Hopefully, one of them
But yeah,
catches a lucky break one of these days.
to wrap it up, Dungeons and Dragons sequel, yay or nay?
Yeah, sure. I won't ever watch this movie again, but it's probably worth going to the theater.
Sounds great. Our top three movies, and we've already mentioned two of them. We've technically mentioned all three. Rye Lane is now out on Hulu. We caught this at South by. They came out
Yes.
buzzing from it. Zach, have you rewatched it, and does it hit the same way it did at the premiere?
Absolutely, it does. It's delightful from beginning to end. It's a breeze, less than 90 minutes long. And it's also just got this like great vibe to it, this great sound to it. The soundtrack is excellent. The way it's shot. I think you mentioned that in your research, she was comparing the use of the fisheye lens to the feeling of being on a carousel, like it's a carousel of London. And I totally,
Also,
totally caught that on the rewatch.
she said no fisheye. She said it's anamorphic. So Intercut has a correction over here. She came out. She said, "Nah, nah, nah, nah. It ain't no fish. I don't want to be that person." But she got this wide anamorphic lens, and I was like, "All
Amazing.
right, I'm sorry to her, dude. She is so badass when she's talking about the film. It's exactly how you want to hear a director talk about their movie, just oozing with excitement and joy. I I, I got it queued up to rewatch on my TV. I'm finishing up my I was looking over the South by list that I had for my rankings, and Alina kept arguing for it to go up and up and up. And I'm like, how much more up can it go? Look, I have not seen a movie come in, be accessible to everybody, and it just hit, bro. Everyone's
Hmm.
loving this movie. It is a blast. At 82 minutes, I have not seen someone not recommend this movie,
That's the thing is like
except David Ehrlich.
a lot of time a lot of times you see movies that get like the 4 star and 3.5 star and 4.5 star reactions, and then there'll be a smattering of like 2 stars and 1.5 stars thrown in there. Just about every single person I've seen on Letterboxd is going positive on it. Like the worst I've seen is a 2.5, and screw that guy, he's a curmudgeon. This is a movie that is like very hard to have like an an angry bone about, because it's just so
Fair.
charming and delightful and full of fun gags. It keeps moving. It's colorful. It's like it's is it the best shot comedy of the last couple of years? It might be.
I mean, the fact that we're still talking about the lenses being used, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's raw. It's fantastic. Um, it was in our top of South by, in our South by Intercut, or
Or
Sundance.
Sundance.
Would have won South by.
Yes.
So would have won South by as well if I was playing there. It was top tier for direction, for performances, for supporting performances. All of that delivers on every front. I think you would even have it higher than the top three that we're mentioning here. Rye Lane gets a full recommendation, 2 thumbs up. And you know what? If it was in theaters, you would have gone out to theaters to probably see it again. But hey,
Absolutely.
it's on Hulu. Like we said, these Fox movies, Searchlight, they go straight there. But at least everyone has access to it. It's one of the best of the year. And I'm sure if
A-
they continue campaigns, there will be screenings in theaters.
And let's give a quick shout out. There is a very funny post credit scene, but I think Hulu might even cut away before you get to see it. So make sure you get there because it is so hysterical. I missed it at Sundance because they ushered us out of the theater.
I told you, I was like, bro, there's an after credit scene. I remember because we always stay all the way towards the end, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
damn, they better not cut this. Okay, I hate that too. Succession did that to me where it cut out to the next thing. I was like, nah, I want to hear the after the episode. Why you record the after the episode and then not
Right.
yeah. So interesting after credit scene. All right, John Wick 4. We talked about
Let's
it
do
up
it.
at the top. It delivers, bro. I still have number one at the top, but I don't hate anyone who's loving this movie. My rating for this is that this is the first movie to feel like the Raid 2 since the Raid 2. A movie that overinflates its runtime, but does not give up on the action, does not give up on the story. If you thought 3 was balls to the wall, I've heard people comparisons to Mad Max Fury Road. That's 3. That's him running, 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 no gas,
Hmm.
no brakes, just gas, full out, but very little story. This finally has combined both a fantastic lore of characters that are coming out of nowhere, these relationships that have expanded, this universe of the Wickverse that has all these ins and outs of this hierarchy, and then the action just doesn't stop. I don't know how, in the fourth movie, you deliver the staircase scene, the over the head shot, and a knife battle that ended up becoming I have to rearrange my. I know the order of the movies, but I don't know the orders of the stunt scenes in these films
Mm,
because like
mm.
2 is my least favorite of the movies, yet it has my favorite fight scene in a film between Common doing the little pew 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 pew. Nothing's gonna beat that for me because it's just the funniest thing. I don't know how they keep delivering. You're fresh out of all the movies as well, just as I have.
Yeah.
How do you rank them? How do you feel? Are you looking forward to a fifth or the spin-off Ballerina?
I would probably go with 1, 3, 4, 2. If I'm going to rank them from best to worst. So I got
Fair.
chapter 4 in third place, and that's not to knock it at all, because if we're just going on like a pure action impressive standpoint, I might have this one in first. 3 or 4 are the ones battling for it, because they really feel like they've upped their game. I feel like a lot of the filmmaking in this one really did impress me, and like that's something that I've been really appreciating in revisiting the John Wick franchise. Is like, yeah, you can have an action forward blockbuster film that actually pays attention to shot composition and
Yes, sir.
assembly and pacing and lighting
Yes,
and
sir.
sound and all the things that make up a film, other than like a recognizable character and a celebrity playing them. I don't know. There's a lot to really appreciate about how these films do what they do. I was also really struck with the way that, while these films are not comedies, like they are not written to be comedies, they're very funny. And the action
Hysterical.
choreography is very Looney Tunes and in a lot of the
It's a
places,
dance.
but it's very it just it gets into these kind of like absurd back and forths. Like my favorite thing they'll do is, is they have these they've done them in a couple films where there'll be two guys on either side of John Wick, and they won't go down right away, so he'll have to deal with one for 5 seconds, turn around and deal with the other one for 5 seconds, turn back around and deal with the first guy. And it's really literally like him bouncing off of walls at
Yes.
certain points. Was there a particular set piece that stood out to you? Because there are so many good ones, as you mentioned. I think they said there were 14 action set pieces in this film. Any one that stood above the rest?
When you're 2 hours into a movie and they hit you with this overhead shot where he's
The
holding a
Hotline Miami
shotgun
shot.
that that's called dragon's breath or something like that because it shoots out fire as it burns your enemies as you beat them to a pulp. Yeah, I'm thinking it's that one to to invigorate you that late in the movie, dude. Oh,
Hmm.
it was, and I saw this in Dolby. It hits so hard, dude. The opening shot to this is a fist pounding. Bro, it was so loud. I thought I was watching it in 40x. The whole seat was rumbling. It delivered on all aspects. That one to me was the best one, and like I had mentioned, the stair one. I've always used Katniss falling in the Hunger Games as a go-to tumble meme.
Mm.
After the first set, he had cleared it. I was like, "That's it. I have a new one. It will always be." And then he kept falling. I will not mention Katniss again. This is like with
Again,
2012. I've been using my
yeah.
Katniss meme. It's that once
Again,
I
though,
get
that's
a
another
full clean shot of that,
Looney Tunes moment.
it's the best and metaphorical for the movie
Yeah.
and how far he's come. I love it, dude. I have one for you. Besides your favorite set piece, who's your favorite new character?
I mean, look, I really want to say our guy Shamir Anderson, because the glow up from to go
Yo,
from this to Bruiser to this, pretty dope.
bro,
Very, very happy for him.
he needs that spinoff.
And
He
like
was
me,
clean.
he loves his dog. So like I can relate off the bat to Tracker. I get that,
Yes, sir.
but I also don't know how the answer to this is not Donnie Yen.
Yeah, Donnie Yen. See if I can find him over here. Been a long time coming, dude. I don't know how. And they said it was just a matter of time with all of these actors. Yeah, Donnie Yen just is the definition of cool. You know,
Yeah.
you don't even need the 24 frames per frame. He's just chilling. He's just killing it.
Yeah.
And what a great story to intertwine with John Wick too.
Yeah, it's funny because like I don't know, he's able to embody his character so well, because it's not just that he's fighting, he's playing a character who is unable to see, so he's
Yep.
fighting as a blind person, and like to be able to communicate that about your character in your fighting style is absurd to me. He's such a gifted martial artist.
That's one of the best things about these movies because you have the directors who come from stunt backgrounds. You have a
Yeah.
movie in where everybody who's coming in, other action stars as well, already know the language. So
Hmm.
there's none of this like second unit Marvel stuff. They're ready
Yeah.
to go, and I think that's why they deliver so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you an audible over here as well. I'm gonna
Shoot.
go with the freaking villain of the story, bro.
Ooh.
He had no he had no business being an anime villain in this. His suits,
Bill
his
Skarsgård.
dialogue, he was so menacing in this film. I thought he might top my favorite villain in the John Wick universe. I
Ooh,
loved him. He was so good.
wow.
So, uh, other
So
than him, you know,
I'll s-
rest in peace, Lance
yeah, I'll say
Verde.
one place where I think we maybe differ a little bit in our assessment of the films is
Tell
I
me.
prefer John Wick when it's not so lore forward. I like it more being in the background. I think the more that they emphasize those elements of it, and particularly like I don't love the whole like, oh, the entire city is now after John Wick stuff. I don't know.
Nah, bro, that's the best part. I love that
It
part.
just
See, that's why you didn't want
to
the
me
coin. That's why I want the coin so bad.
exactly, yeah.
I gotta
I
cash
I
that in.
find I find a lot of it to be like not the kind of silly, like a little more stupid than silly, but I get
Really?
that it like deepens the world and stuff. It's
Oh,
just I kind of I like it to be a little more bare bones, like the dialogue.
I feel what you're saying. I think that's what opens it to be as silly as possible. Because if not, you'd be
Yeah.
wondering how's everyone. They answer it for you, and it becomes the best freaking playground for it. Are you looking forward to expanding this with the John Wick 5? Do you care for the spinoff? I'm gonna see if I can pull up the spinoff over here because I know they got someone else working on it.
Ballerina, Ana de Armas. I think
Bro,
that's the
why do
one that's
people
supposed to come
hate
out
this
next.
director? Yeah, why do they hate the director so much? They have a
Ah,
mini series in the works. They have Ballerina, which is going to be a movie. Out of all of these, it is no longer the main team working on them. They are giving it to
right,
Len Wiseman for Ballerina, and it's going to have Ana de Armas as the lead. This is taking place in between 3 and 4, so it's a prequel. I don't know
right.
where the Continental's going to be, but considering that it is a mini series, I'm sure they'll be able to expand it however which way they want.
Hmm.
I know you don't like expanding the world, but this will be expanding the world. Between the two of them, are you looking forward to one more than the other?
I mean, I guess I would maybe look forward a little more to Ballerina, although the fact that
Oh,
they don't
wow.
have Stahelski at the helm does worry me a bit.
Yeah.
Just to speak a little bit more about like the people behind this, like David Leitch gets a lot of credit for those first couple John Wick films, but I haven't really been a fan of the films that David Leitch has sort of gone off and made. Like I
I
just
have.
don't.
I'll defend them, man. They're
Yeah,
not
I
better
mean,
than Chad's. Chad's
right.
cooler than David,
I'm not saying
but they
that
haven't been
like
the
the
worst.
I'm not saying that they're terrible. I'm just saying they're not John Wick quality, which makes me think like, do we need Chad at the helm for Ballerina to be John Wick quality?
Can I argue that Chad has stayed with John Wick and done nothing else? Guy's taken different opportunities, has tried to create different worlds at least. John Wick was a
Yeah,
sleeper hit.
but I think even the filmmaking, like the filmmaking in John Wick 3 and 4 is just leagues better than anything in Bullet Train.
But you still have one as your number one.
Yeah, I think so. And that
So
maybe
they need to
that's
come
a
back
lot of it
together.
because the lore is more in the background there. But
Um,
I got
why
two
do
at the
people hate Len
bottom.
Wiseman? Why do people hate Len Wiseman?
Was he done?
Oh, damn. Okay, I get it now. I heard nothing but people belittle him, and I'm barely opening his IMDb. Got it. I answered my own question.
Underworld, yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, I guess I'm looking forward to the Continental coming soon to a mini-series site
Yeah.
near you. John Wick Chapter 4. Overall, I highly recommend it. If it's still playing in Dolby near theater near you, go watch it. They're pushing IMAX a lot. It doesn't go full screen. You need that Dolby audio mixing.
Mm,
Leave your house.
good to
Go
know.
watch it. It is fantastic. Watch all of them over
Yeah,
on
I'd agree.
Peacock as well. Wrapping up our final one, the Sundance winner of the year with a full theatrical release before it hits Amazon Prime. And I
Yes.
would argue if it's playing in a nice little
Yes.
art house near you, go out and watch 1001 starring Tiana Taylor in what I would consider one of the best roles out of Sundance. And I'm hoping gets a campaign all the way towards the end of the year. Uh, you were talking about New York not being covered beautifully in movies. How does this
This
not
one does it
cover it?
right.
The best in movies, right? It covers it the best. The performances are great. The costumes, and as we were talking about all throughout Sundance, the score absolutely it kills, bro, and it works
Shout
perfectly
out
for the
Gary
story as
Gunn.
well. The movie's out
Yeah.
in theaters right now. I give it 2 thumbs up. It was at the top of our picks for our Sundance reviews, and it is at the top of the pick here, Zach. What would you recommend
Yeah.
people, or where do you recommend people see this?
Oh, I mean, I would definitely go out to the theater if you can. It's a beautiful film, and especially if you can hear that Gary Gunn score off those nice speakers, all
Yes,
the better,
sir.
right? But I agree with you. I think Tiana Taylor is remarkable in this film and really pulls
Kills
together
it.
what is this very scrappy story of a mother trying to make a good life for her son against tough circumstances. And I think that while that premise might sound familiar, and while elements of this film might be familiar, I think it's just told with such like a authenticity and an intellectual honesty that is really really strong. And it also has this interesting wrinkle to it in that uh, that Inez in the beginning of the story kidnaps her son from foster care. So there's also this sort of looming anvil waiting to drop that and adds this like layer of tragedy to it. I think it's just a very very real a very like honest and smartly told story that down to elements that we mentioned in our Sundance review, the fashion sense that brings you back to the mid 90s and early 2000s, the hairstyles and the baby curls that bring you back to the early 2000s. It's just a movie that really feels lived in a way that oftentimes dramas fail to reach that level of realness. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really great.
Highly recommend from all of us. And clearly, once again, tops our list for the best of March. Before we get into our picks for the week, which I think we're kind of going to divide it into a bunch of the TV series that we've been
Yeah,
recommending. Zach, give a big shout out to all of the Intercuties who have been supporting us all throughout
let's
Sundance, South by, and
do
getting
it.
early stuff from all the festivals.
Yeah, before we talk about our picks for the week, we only need to thank the Inner Cutie patrons, those wonderful people supporting the show. They are Ewan, Ronette, Julieta, Tim, Elizabeth, Josh, Ashley, Brady, Marion, Michael, Mr. Kobayashi, Nick the Monty, LaShawn, Devesh, who are in the live stream. Shout out to y'all. Nick and Diana, our Academy level members, are Tushar, Cademan, Connor, May, Ricky, Joe, and Janicia. And of course, a big thanks to the producer level patrons, Yuden Veer, Sam, and Wiley. Thanks again for all the support, and a reminder that you too can become a member at patreon.com/intercutpod, where you can sign up for patron benefits like early access to Intercut episode, access to Intercut episode outlines, access to private channels on the Intercut Discord to chat with us throughout the week, and an
Hey,
invitation to our monthly patron Google meetings, the last of which we did last week. Although it's a new month, we got to get a new one of those on the schedule for April, so
gotta get
not
a
too
new
late
bracket.
to that too. Not too late to chat with us if you want to donate as little as $1 a month and become an inner cutie, an inner cutter, whatever you want to call yourself. Come
We
join
still
our
doing
team over
Intercutter?
at
You're gonna get
patreon.com.
us
I
demonetized.
I just want people to be able to choose their own identity. You know, I'm not going to assign anybody's identity for them.
Don't be an intercutter. Don't be the
Yeah,
second half of that line right there. But yeah, shout out to all of the inner cuties over on Patreon, all of those who are viewing on the live stream, especially. Shout out to all of y'all. We appreciate you as well. You're just as important, always supporting the show in that fashion, allowing us to bring you all of the best from the festivals
absolutely.
and every week. But Zach, we got some news that we're gonna have to cover in another one. We're gonna be talking Succession into full spoilers. But what are your top 5 picks for the week?
All right, I gotta give a quick shout out to a couple different things. First of which is one that is already maybe a month or so old, but it made me laugh so much. I gotta give it at least one shout here on the podcast. I was showing y'all while we were at South by Southwest the work of Rajat Suresh and Jeremy Levick, a comedy pair who like to do some kind of absurd viral video comedy or just like interesting experimental comedy videos. They've already done a 12-hour podcast in the style of the Joe Rogan show
It's
with
the
Tim
only thing,
Heidecker.
bro.
They started a brand new YouTube channel called The Hollywood Reporter, excuse me, The Hollywood Recorder,
Recorder.
and uploaded their
Oh,
actors roundtable featuring the two of them, as well as some other people you
no
might
way.
recognize as bit players and Justin Thoreau. It is so
Wait,
funny. Part of
it's a
part of
fake
the bit.
website. It's nothing's clickable. It's a JPEG, bro. It's a fake
That
ad.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's an
So they're
image.
they're doing a parody of those Hollywood Reporter roundtables, but talking to people who like have a couple lines in shows, and also Justin Thoreau discussing a completely fictional project about MLK's dresser. It's um if you're the type of person who watches the roundtable videos as soon as they come out, you'll recognize a lot of the tropes that they're making fun of, a lot of the cutaway montages and indulging actors indulging their own work and stuff like that. It's just it plays off of a very familiar idea in a way that I've never seen done before. Also added hilariously, it's added what adds to the depth of hilariousness is that Rajat is on Severance talking about
He
his
has one
performance
scene.
on Severance. He has like one line.
And then the
It's
fact that Ben Stiller took it and added to the joke continues to make the joke funnier and funnier. Because we're in this realm
yeah,
where people are making fake podcast clips. They're not really recording the whole podcast, you know? There's an actual trend where they're trying to just make like a podcast segment go viral without
yes.
doing all of it. This man created an entire website, YouTube channel, and recorded. When you sent me the clip, I thought it was funny, but nothing's funnier than actually committing to the bit and making a 53-minute podcast. I've yet to
It's
sit with
so
the full
good.
thing, but I feel like the funniest part is yet to be in and outed and turned into a short, and that's genius. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
It's there's so many good jokes in it. It maybe overstays its welcome a little bit, but I like it.
That's the
It's
bit, though.
easily, yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly
That's the
it.
bit. People don't get
So
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
if
that's great.
well, I'll put a link to it in the description for this episode. But you have, if you watch this podcast, you will be
You'd
entertained
like it. Yeah.
by this video.
We personally get all of our news from the Hollywood Recorder, anyways.
I also
Next,
want to
you
give a
have
shout
one
out.
that
Yeah,
has been pretty high on my
one
list.
of my favorite shows of all time, back for a third season that just wrapped up. Party Down,
Already?
just as good. Yeah, it's only a 6 episode run, but there
Oh
are
dear.
hopes, talks,
Damn.
maybe promises that I hope don't turn out to be false of a season 4 in the works. So as long as Stars is down, we might be getting more adventures of the Party Down Catering Company.
All
It's
right.
interesting to bring a show back because like it's never gonna feel quite the same as it did, and I've been revisiting older Party Down in because I'm just been in such a Party Down mood because of the revival, and watching the show as it was when it's about people in their like 20s, maybe early 30s who are still dreaming of Hollywood success. And then fast forwarding to now when they're all people
Mm.
in their 40s, maybe seeing that dream fade and start to no longer look like a potential reality, it gives the show like a slightly different feel, but one that is still like completely in line with how the show always was. It's maybe a bit sadder and more desperate, but like it works for the comedy of these characters. And it also just
Interesting.
has Adam Scott in what is my favorite role he's ever done because he gets to play kind of like a wry asshole. And I think he's just so much better being a little bit mean than being the nice guy. And then it's also got Ken Marino doing like the best slapstick comedy on television. He's so hilarious as just this guy who has it always ends up in the worst possible scenario. Um, I don't know. I just really love the show. I love the way they're able to rotate in guest stars because the premise allows them to go from party to party to party. And as a longtime fan of the show, the post credits on the last episode did actually bring a tear to my eye, and I really need season 4 to happen. I just need season 4 to happen. So, look, if you're enjoying Party Down, the new season is not going to disappoint at all.
I've got a couple episodes on Hulu, which I think is where season 4 definitely needs to head over. I think they'd have a much bigger audience to get that
Yeah,
green light for season 4. You said,
yeah,
so
yeah.
if you don't have stars, because very little people have it, the first 2 seasons are on there. So watch it. I would say from what I've seen, Ken Marino kills it. He's the best one so
Yeah.
far, so far. But I can't wait to wrap up on that one and catch the new season when it's out. You also had
Definitely.
one of the biggest South by picks that's on the horizon. There's been a lot of screenings for this,
Yes.
so keep an eye out for special screenings on this one.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon is really trying to put their leg into this one. Air, the story of the iconic Air Jordan shoe, directed by Ben Affleck with an all-star cast. I don't know if any movie released this year will have a cast deeper than this one, with Matt Damon,
Same.
Viola Davis, Chris Messina, Jason Bateman, of
Chris
course, Affleck
Tucker.
himself. It's just a, a all-star
Gustav
lineup for
Skarsgård, of
sure.
course.
And then yeah, it's just a very satisfying movie too. I think it gets the whole like it understands things tonally that Tetris didn't, right? Because it's sort of
Yeah.
absurd, but the
Yes.
people involved know how crazy it is to be risking their lives and careers on a shoe tie-in for a rookie basketball player at a time when the NBA is still on tape delay. Like there's so many interesting wrinkles to this, but I think they get sort of the sort of procedure of it, right? Like it's a procedure film in that you see all the machinations that go into taking the idea from a concept to a reality, how the legend gets birthed. And
Mhm.
I found it to be a really riveting watch, partially because every scene features at least one Oscar caliber actor acting their ass off.
True. On top of it, it's also the boys talking about how far they've made it as well. So
Yeah,
I love seeing that. They gave out these glasses at the South by premiere, and I think it was only for like they
not
had
to
like a
us.
limited amount. But
Yeah,
dang, we should have hustled and tried to find one because someone's just throwing these away. But they're fantastic. They're fantastic overall.
yeah. LaShawn in the live stream is asking how was Chris Tucker's performance. I thought he was solid in it.
It was good. It was solid.
Yeah, he has more of a supporting role, but he's like a really nice contrast to Matt Damon's energy. I like also
Hmm.
seeing him in. It's not like a dramatic role, but it's not a purely comedic one either. I like seeing him as more of a real person. You know.
Yep. So, air.
Uh,
I would say go to the theaters, right, for this one.
Absolutely go to the theaters.
Next up, we about to
Uh,
watch it. Time's
yeah, I'm
clicking on
about to
this
go to
one.
the theater later tonight. I'm going to check out the Super Mario Bros. Movie. You got your screening today too.
Yes,
Look,
sir.
I was really dreading this one because it comes from
Damn.
Illumination, which does not make my favorite stuff. Everything, and then they announced a voice cast that had me very skeptical.
Mhm.
Everything I've seen since then has kind of convinced me this movie might be fun. Not only might it be fun, I think it's going to be a gigantic hit. I feel like it's going to make over
I
$100 million
mean,
opening weekend, probably
it's
the
it's
highest grossing movie that
Mario.
comes out this year.
Yeah. Yeah, Illumination doesn't waste money. It's got everything for the kids, and it's got the biggest property. Right when what is it, Disney, who's Universal is barely opening their Super Mario
Yeah,
World.
Universal, exactly,
Massive, bro. And look who they got.
massive.
Eric Bauza in a movie where he could be voicing Bowser. So you never know. It's a hit all the way around. I'm excited for
Yeah.
it the most, mainly because I've heard that it's been able to deliver in between um, the Easter eggs and a lot of homages to the OG one, which we just caught up. The
Oh
Leguizamo
man,
one. That movie's so bad, it's kind of decent.
yeah, it's
So
kind of fun actually.
I love how that was Super Mario Bros. And they're like, the Super Mario
Nah,
Bros.
yeah,
They just keep adding, right? It's like the Suicide
it's like
Squad
the
bit, but
Suicide Squad.
yeah. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm just as excited as you.
Yeah. And then I'll guess I can give a quick shout out. Oh, I do want to give a shout out to How to Blow Up a Pipeline. It's coming out in limited release this Friday and then expands next Friday. But I'm just going to be a very annoying person when it comes to this movie because it's one of the most electric, riveting movies I've seen in quite some time. Uh, I love the movie, but even more than loving the movie, I love what this movie is like about and stands for in the film landscape. There needs to be more exciting, riveting entertainment with a strong political agenda behind it and one that I agree with. And I'm not I don't know. I don't want to go like weirdo on this movie. I think this movie's really cool and really compelling.
All right, and it's out limited almost, right?
Limited on Friday and then expanding on next Friday, the April 14th. I'm curious to see like how many theaters this movie will even play in, because it's already starting to get the like this is a Joe Biden psyop thing from Twitter accounts. So
Interesting. I will definitely comment on the cast. All of this, all of the people in here are going to be stars if they're not already stars in the future,
yes,
bro. They fantastic. Shout out Lucas
it's
Gage.
going to be one of those like short-term 12 kind of casts in the future.
Yeah, we are obligated to mention Ted Lasso season 3 is out on Apple TV Plus, so people don't yell at us. Zach has seen an episode. Great.
It's fine.
My top. I'll let you guys
Too
something to say
long
about
now.
Ted Lasso, bro.
I have a little bit to say. It's a half-hour
Shoot.
sitcom, and every episode is longer than 45 minutes now.
Boo. Hey, that's some Emmy finagling, huh?
Yeah,
That's some Emmy finagling. They do it by
I
time.
think I think the worst thing to happen to the show was that they were
Eek.
told that it's an important show about depression. I think it's the worst thing to happen
Ew.
to Ted Lasso.
Dang, I mean, yeah, they've been bleeding over the 40-minute mark for a minute already. Sheesh.
Mm-hmm.
Dear. Do you think it's going to be the last one? Everyone keeps surprising people with, surprise, it's the last episode. It's last season. You think they're gonna
I
hit
think they're going to stick around for a little bit longer. They were talking about how it was a 3-season pickup a lot more before it became a huge hit that made them a lot of money. And the way that Apple's like including it in marketing, like they got the rights to MLS that we've talked about, and now they're having
Right.
MLS players mention Ted Lasso in promos. Like it's too big of a
Well,
cross
what
promotional platform for them.
what if it's full circle? The show dies, he goes back to commercials.
There we go.
Where it
I
all
take it.
began. All right, to wrap it up, my top 5 really quickly here. There was a new comedy special, Mae Martin, called Sap. This
Yeah.
is actually directed by Abby Jacobson, which is the reason why this
Oh.
was on our radar. I think Abby Jacobson is the funniest out of the duo from, why am I blanking on it, bro? Broad City. Probably
Yes.
all of my quotables come from her. So to see that she was directing a stand up, I tuned in. May has a lot of really good bits in this. It's also a very awkward one, so it's a recommendation where they do a really good job. And in like 5 years, in a couple more, bro, they're gonna make a stand up that's gonna hit. In the meantime, I like seeing a lot of the bits. There's a lot of awkward moments that they have within the special. A lot of really funny stories. I don't think it's gonna hit for everybody, but I like the direction that Abby had for this. I like the production design, and like I said, there's some delivery on some lines that are so dry that in a couple years, 2 more stand-up specials, probably gonna have one of my favorite for the
Awesome.
year. But Mae Martin Sapp out on Netflix. Swarm is probably my pick of the week
Yes.
for sure. This was a South by series that premiered on Prime, so we were able to see it early. We were able to go get Swarm bucks. We got a Swarm cap. There was a
Yeah.
lot of Swarm merch because when it's a new Donald Glover project, they're rolling out the red carpet for him at South by. The closing night film was the premiere to his TV show Atlanta last year. And yeah, Swarm was no different. There's been some people who are kind of mixed on it. I'm gonna tell you all. I'm gonna go all in with this. Swarm is the American Psycho of this generation. I don't want to hear it, bro.
Woo.
She kills it. Dominique Fishback,
Okay.
performance of the year right now when it comes to a miniseries. Do not sleep on this show. Don't do it. This is fantastic in every way. Found out they shot on film. He said it cost a pretty penny.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, it's worth it, dude. The performances, all of it, the cameos, which we've been saying are like guest appearances.
Episode 4.
It delivers on every aspect. I'm rewatching it now because what we were given were 720p images. No. This is streaming on 4K on Prime. Do yourself a favor and binge this. Watch it one a night. It's 18 plus for a reason. Be warned. But damn, bro. You know what I saw? People were going back. They were like, yeah, have you seen Judas and the Black Messiah? She's actually really good. We're doing the reverse engineering now, Zach. We're going back and changing the ratings on previous performances. And you know what? Fine, I'll take it. She's that great in this series. Yeah, I love it, bro. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's such a compelling show. I mean, to sort of like take the whole Stan idea and update it for the Beehive age. It's just a brilliant premise, but also then like you're saying, make it this kind of like American Psycho-esque drama, this sort of like mental psychological sort of
It's
thriller.
so raw. Yeah.
It's so
I
good. It's also like a show that will, like Atlanta at times, take long stretches where they're not trying to make you laugh and then hit you with the funniest punchline you've heard in days.
and also the way
Episode
they tell the
6,
story. Yes,
episode 6,
that's what I
I
was
was
going
saying
for.
this to you in South by. It's the most Atlanta thing that's been made since Atlanta, and then it ends. It's written and directed by Stephen Glover. Made a lot of sense.
What if I told you that he's got a little red carpet bit where he says that it was one of the best things that he shot with the universe of Atlanta, and you could take that however you want.
It's so good.
I find it fascinating. The Gloververse, Atlantaverse, whatever it is, I'm all in. Um, Fantastic, especially with that finale performance. I don't see her not getting a nomination, and if she doesn't, nah, it's come on, we be serious. One of the best
Yeah,
performances of the year. Everyone's great on it, shot beautifully. Give it a watch over on Amazon Prime. This one's
definitely.
obvious. Succession, it's good. It's on HBO. Great. We'll be talking about that more. Yellow
Yeah.
Jackets. It is out on Showtime, and they are doing the thing that they're meant to be doing. Episode 1 for the new season was decent. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally cooking in episode 2. I am loving it. Watch Yellow Jackets if you can. I wish we had all of these early, but it's streaming in 4K over on Showtime. It's the only thing keeping Showtime alive. So support them, or maybe go watch it on Paramount Plus. But Yellow Jackets is one of the best shows out there, and it's got a fantastic cast. It is filling my lost little itch for the season, and yeah, recommend to catch up on it if you haven't. My final one over here would be Rap Caviar Presents. I don't know if you heard about this, but they sent us
I
these
have.
early, look kind of interesting. It's ironic because Rap Caviar has been accused of being a playlist by Spotify that can plant artists because they can decide through its algorithms who is going to get the big boost. You know, we left radio
Mhm.
to do streaming, and technically these studios, these labels are kind of controlling it just like they did radio. They ain't skipping the allegations now that Rap Caviar is the cleanest, smoothest, biggest release that they've got over on Hulu, covering some of the biggest rap artists. But damn, do they have money for it? And it looks fantastic, bro. It is edited beautifully, and the first episode covers Tyler the Creator, and I loved it.
Yes.
I thought it was a great breakdown on the man.
Amazing.
It does a really good job of just encompassing his career, obviously as fast as it can in a quick little episode. I'm excited to finish all the rest of the series. I think for a novice, it's fantastic, and for someone who doesn't know any of these artists, it's just as great. So
Amazing.
if you wanted a nice little docu-series dealing with music, specifically with hip-hop, Rap Caviar Presents, I highly recommend. Over on Showtime, I recommend Yellow
Nice.
Jackets. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is so good. Succession, I know it's a lot of talking, but you got 4 seasons of talking to catch up with because it's the final season and it is worth it. If
It's
I'm
the
watching
best
it weekly,
talking on
you know it's
TV.
good. Exactly. Swarm over on Amazon Prime, also not for the faint of heart, but it's going to be one of the best by the end of the year. And then Mae
Who's your
Martin's
favorite artist?
Sap over on Netflix as a comedy. Zach, you had maybe Ted Lasso. What else?
Maybe Ted Lasso, but I definitely had a few others. I had How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is going to be in limited release this weekend. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, which is going to be in very wide release this weekend. I had Air, the story of the iconic Nike sneakers, again in wide release this weekend. Party Down season 3, it's wrapped up. It's all available on Stars. Hopefully, it makes its way to Hulu at some point. But maybe you got a 7-day Stars free trial that you haven't redeemed yet. Maybe you can open up a new email. I don't know, man. And
All
then
right,
of
it's that
course,
good. It's a good
yeah,
recommendation.
and of course, the number one source for hearing from the actors you care about, the Hollywood Recorder Roundtable.
Of course. Beautiful. Other than that, you can catch every episode of the weekend must watch, monthly watch, all of the recommendations that we have here on Intercut. Be sure to give Intercut Podcast a listen over on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. You can catch all of the live videos here on YouTube.com. A shout out to the chat. Always able to have that dynamicness over there that you can't get in a post one. But we also appreciate the comments down below in the comments section. A big shout out to all the Intercuties who listen live, all the patrons, all the iTunes listeners who leave us a 5-star review. It helps us with getting screeners to get y'all early reviews to tell you what you should or should not waste your money on, where you should leave the theater, whether you should stay at home. Other than that, don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow all the socials over on Intercut Pod, and until next time, keep watching movies and we'll send you your favorite artist tickets.